Hi everybody, Steve from Steve's Makerspace, and today we are in Gamecraft, and I thought we'd take a look at some logic gadgets that I put together. This includes toggling something on for a set period of time, comparing two numbers and outputting the greater, less than, or equal to, a way to count up and down, including negatives, a way to input large numbers quickly, including with decimals, and some shift registers, which are something that is used to make screens, basically. So let's take a look. So I have these here. I'm going to assume that you already know about using the number to text block, how to use a basic bit to set, reset, toggle on and off, the basic timer function, start, pause, start again, pause, reset. The basic counter function, start, increment, decrement, and then reset to 0. So here is my comparator. I don't think I'm going to describe everything that there is in how this comparator works. It's a little bit complicated, but if you fiddle with these, let's see, yes, we're in test mode. So I go increase this to whatever this is, let's say 1. This is greater than, so this is the output right here in the center. And then if I increase this to 1, then they're equal. The equal just doesn't come out very well. And then I can decrease this, and if I, well, anyway, it's kind of obvious, the output. So what you can do with all of these things that I have here is come into the prefab, the logic gadgets prefab, and then you can just, if you want this comparator for some reason, you just do H and then copy it, right, and Control C, and then take it into your world, and then you can paste it there. And just if you use something like this, you can give me some credit, please. So the output for this is the greater than is coming from here and going to this computer console. So if you need this in some sort of gadget where you just need the number 1 for the output, this is the greater than, and this is the less than, and this is the equal, and the input you can put into these plus signs right here. So toggling something on for a set period of time, this is really important, right? So this one toggles on for a certain, I've got it toggling on for 2 seconds. So the setup for this, the button goes to the bit in the 1, the current state goes to the piston and also to start of the timer, and then the timer, it ends and goes to the 0, and then also goes to the stop and the reset. So that's how that works. I don't think you need to copy this, you just need to know how to do this because it's pretty important in your builds. So the counter is good for counting things, but it has this progress. It doesn't output a number that you can use in logic. It outputs a text that goes directly to a text block, but then it outputs this progress. It doesn't output the actual number. They might change that and actually output the number, but if you want to get the number out of this, you just multiply the progress times the number that you have in the target. So here I multiplied the progress times 10, and that gives me the same number over here. It's outputting a 6. So this one is coming from the text straight to this, and then this one is coming based on the progress. So if I change this to 20, and then I changed this calculation so that it was multiplying by 20, then I'd get the number that's in the counter. So this setup is counting up and down, including negatives. So here I can go up, and you can see the 7 over there, and then I can go down. But when I get to 0, it continues going negative. So this is simple. It's limited though, because both of these counters are going up, and when either one of these gets to 999, then you're stuck. You can't go up or down, and you can't go up beyond that counter number, right? So this is useful in some limited situations. Now here's a more complicated setup, which counts up and down, including negatives. It still has a maximum of 999 or negative 999, but these counters don't continue going up. So let me show you that. So I can increment this and then decrement it, and you can see as I decrement this is going down, and now this is going up, and as I go increment, this goes back down. So if you want to count up and down 999 or negative 999, then you can copy this. Now let's say you're in a game and you want the player to be able to input a large number. Let's say they're doing a gambling bet. So here I can do 136. So I want to bet $136. So here you can see the output is 136. I can decrease this. Now I can't decrease it beyond 0, but you know, this works. So here's $345 bet. And then here is inputting a large number that includes decimals. So same thing as this, just now I've got decimals included. So 346.2.324. So, and here's the output. You might find that useful. I don't know. It was fun. It's fun for me just to make stuff like this and figure out how I can do it. This I haven't finished yet. I want to work on entering a multi-digit number using a number pad. Not sure if I'll be able to be successful with this yet, but we'll see. And this is a signal limiter, which I got from Gumball, although I needed to make a little modification to get it to work properly. So if I hit this, it limits this to 1/10 of a second. So I can hold this, and normally if I just had this on a piston and I held this, the piston would stay out. But with this setup, the piston only goes out for a very short time, 1/10 of a second, and then it comes back. So I don't know if you need a signal limiter, but if you need one, this is the setup for it. Now here is a little device for preventing a trigger activation for certain parts. So in this case, well, let me show you here. Now you can see that there is a trigger area in here, an object trigger, and this thing comes up with a piston. Now if I push this block in here, you'll see this thing gets triggered and it knocks that out. But if I didn't have this set up here, what would happen is the piston would get triggered, and then it would stay and continually get triggered. But by using an object identifier and a knot, I basically am excluding the piston from the trigger area. So now it ignores the piston and only focuses on anything that's not the piston. Everything else here is all shift registers. So I worked hard trying to figure out these shift registers. So a shift register sends a signal to the right or to the left. So if I just start this, and I'm going to prime this and then shift it shift the signal to the right. And you can see the 1 going over to the right, and then I can shift the signal back over to the left. So now this one is a little glitchy, but why would I do that? Well, basically I want to create a screen. I haven't created a screen yet, but I created a grid of pistons to take the place of a screen. And I've got, I think, spacebar and shift. Control. So control, control, and spacebar, spacebar, spacebar. And so it's going up, and then I think, is it right click? Yeah, mouse right click, and then left mouse click. So I can basically, whoops, it's a little glitchy, unfortunately. Let me try that again. But the idea with the shift register is you could make a screen, and with a screen, I don't know, you could do all sorts of things with a screen, right? Make any kind of two-dimensional game, or I would make a pattern maker, because that's what I like to do. So I found it difficult to do with logic, and I had to use these timers, but I'm still getting glitches. So then I decided, can I do this with math and not have any logic, not have any loops, basically? And the answer is yes. I figured it out. Okay, here's an automated shift register. It shifts the signal over to the right using some math. So if I push this to start, you can see the 1 moving over to the right. And then I can pause that and then start it back up. So if I had, let's say instead of sending a 1, I don't know, I had a little horsey in here. And I could have a horse race where the horse was running across, and I could have another horse that's trying to beat it, and I'd have a little horse race, two-dimensional. Now this is a shift register with 30 instead of, well, I think this was 10, and this is 30. This one, it stops at either end. This one stops at either end, and I went ahead and put a seat in here. So let's see if I can remember. Spacebar, yeah, spacebar is increment, and so I can go really fast, and there's no glitching. And then it stops over here at the end, and then I can hit shift, and I'm hitting shift as fast as I can, and it goes over to the left and it stops there. So if you imagine something like Pong, where you got to move your bar to the left and to the right, this is a situation like that. It goes over to the side, it stops, and then you move it back over this way and it stops. And then this is another shift register with 30, but this one loops. So when it gets to the end, it loops back to the beginning. Let's see. There we go. Now it's at the beginning. And then I can hit shift and you'll see it looping back to the end. So, and this would be useful, say you're in Pac-Man and you see the ghost goes off one side of the screen and then it reappears on the other side of the screen. So this is the sort of setup to be able to do that. Now it is not too difficult to expand this. If you wanted to say have 40 instead of 30, I can copy 10 of these and paste them next to them and then do a little bit of rewiring, and I'd have to change some of the numbers in here, like this says 30, I'd have to change that to 40, and then the multiplication here I'd have to change to 40 instead of 30. But it wouldn't take too much trouble to change this from 30 to 40. So that's everything I wanted to show you guys. If you want to investigate how this logic works, you know, come into the world and take a look at the wiring. It's logic gadgets. If you want to use any of this, go ahead and copy it into your prefab. Just give me some credit if you use it. So that's going to do it for this episode. Hope you got something out of it. If you like this, give it a like. Consider subscribing to my channel. And as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye now. Steve's Makerspace.